The blank check policy to Ukraine is unacceptable and it has got to stop, says Ron DeSantis. Now, let me know if you agree or disagree. And this is coming amid the visit to Ukraine that President Joe Biden had today. And take a look. President Biden says that he's going to be backing Ukraine as long as it takes, sending funding to help them out. But some take aim at the price tag, saying that all of this money is going out and we've got an assortment of different problems and things that we need to address here for the people of the United States. And take a look if you want to see how it is. U.S. aid to Ukraine so far tops $112 billion. You can see the breakdown, and this is for 2022. Congress approved more than $112 billion in aid for Ukraine in 4 spending bills last year. And you can see military aid, $67 billion, economic aid, $28 billion, humanitarian aid, $14 billion, and other, $2.75 billion. How much went out for stimulus checks for the American people in 2022? Zero. So a lot of people saying, what about our borders over here? You're concerned about those over there. What about our people over here? And let me know your thoughts. I think it's good to help out others, but also a lot of people saying you got to focus on those here at home. And just to clarify on how much $112 billion is even further, stimulus checks, as you can see, the second stimulus check of $600, that was a $164 billion price tag. So that is almost enough money that went out last year to Ukraine that we could have sent out a $600 stimulus check to everybody in the nation. Let me know your thoughts. Now, in addition to that, Ron DeSantis also is on tour right now, going to other different states and cities, and he is addressing the police officers in a lot of different liberal cities, and he's letting them know, hey, if you don't like how things are being run over there, come on over to Florida. We want you here. We respect our police officers. We support you. We do not support the woke agenda. You're going to be hearing him talking about this. Let me know your thoughts, you guys. And a lot of people are speculating Ron DeSantis is going to be making a 2024 presidential election run here. Would you vote for Ron DeSantis? What if he ran against President Trump? What if he ran against Biden? Who would you vote for in that? Well, a lot of people are saying it's on the way and it's addressed in this video clip. Wait till you see it, you guys. Let's go ahead and take a look at the video footage, you guys. And if you're somebody on Social Security, stick around to the end. I've got an update for you on schedules for March you're not going to want to miss, especially if you're on SSI. But let's go ahead and dive right in. Before we do me a quick favor, smash the like button, subscribe to stay up to date. All of this information is linked in the description below, so you can look it up for yourself. But with that being said, let's hear what Ron DeSantis had to say just a couple hours ago today on sending out blank checks to Ukraine, wokeism, the police officers, and a potential presidential 2024 run.
Let's bring in Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who's kicking off a special Salute to Police tour as he goes out and shows his support for law enforcement. But first things first, Governor, great to see you. Welcome to New York. I know you're going to Philadelphia after, or to Pennsylvania afterwards. First things first, on the president's unannounced visit, is this a good move?
Well, you know, Brian, I'm reminded of when he was vice president. Obama and Biden opposed providing lethal aid to Ukraine during those years. And then I'm also reminded that I don't think any of this would have happened but for the weakness that the president showed during his first year in office, culminating, of course, in the disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan. So I think while he's over there, I think I and many Americans are thinking to ourselves, okay, he's very concerned about those borders halfway around the world. He's not done anything to secure our own border here at home. We've had millions and millions of people pour in, tens of thousands of Americans dead because of fentanyl. And then, of course, we just suffered a national humiliation of having China fly a spy balloon clear across the continental United States. So we have a lot of problems accumulating here in our own country that he is neglecting.
Well, you know, and Governor, well, great to see you, Governor, as a Floridian. Nice to see you, sir.
You're both in New York today.
Well, yeah, both in New York today, but we got to get back to Florida. You know, but, sir, we've seen incoherence from this administration, no defined policy on Ukraine, no defined objective of what winning, you know, looks like. I think a lot of Americans are asking, you know, how much more money, how much more time, how much more human suffering?
Well, they have effectively a blank check policy with no clear strategic objective identified. And these things can escalate, and I don't think it's in our interest to be getting into proxy war with China getting involved over things like the borderlands or over Crimea. So I think it would behoove them to identify what is the strategic objective that they're trying to achieve. But just saying it's an open-ended blank check, that is not acceptable.
So, Governor, what does a win look like for us in Ukraine?
for Ukraine?
Well, I think it's important to point out, I mean, the fear of kind of Russia going into NATO countries and all that and steamrolling, that has not even come close to happening. I think they've shown themselves to be a third-rate military power. I think they've suffered tremendous losses. I got to think that the people in Russia are probably disapproving of what's going on. I don't think they can speak up about it for obvious reasons. So I think Russia has been really, really wounded here. And I don't think that they are the same threat to our country, even though they're hostile. I don't think they're on the same level as a China.
Right. Governor, you're doing something very important. You're announcing a tour as you go to 4 different liberal cities to talk directly to officers, many of which moved to Florida, some of which might move to Florida again. But you're saluting law enforcement. You're very strong on that. What's the mission today in Staten Island?
Well, I think the mission is to say, you see Florida's success, #1 in net migration, fastest growing, all these things that people have said. And yes, taxes, COVID, all that help. But really, I think the foundation of Florida's success has been law and order and support for the people that wear the uniform. And we've done that in Florida. We're now recruiting more and more people from other states. We've done 1,000 different officers have gotten $5,000 signing bonuses since July. We want more people from New York and Chicago, these places. If they're not happy, they know you have a home in Florida. But I think what we've shown with how we've governed versus how these woke cities have governed is those woke approach to crime and law and order and being anti-police, those policies have failed. Florida's policies have succeeded, so we need everyone around the country to support the people that wear the uniform, to support policies that keep communities safe, and to abandon this woke nonsense like just releasing these criminals or electing prosecutors that don't follow the law.
Well, and Governor, a lot of it comes down to the mentality. I mean, a lot of these cities you're going to, New York City, you're going into Illinois, the state of Illinois as well. We've arrived at this point where they see criminals as the victims. I mean, how did we get here?
To me, it's all putting ideology over public safety. You look at like New York City. No city, it was the safest big city probably in the world under Giuliani and under Bloomberg. And people loved it. And now they've thrown that all away, and you've had crime spike. You have these officers, their lives are now more at risk because they have to risk their lives to put somebody away, but then the judge just releases them, so they end up having to arrest the same guy a week or two later and risk their lives again. You've also seen places like Chicago where these prosecutors are not going after the people. So this has huge effects on quality of life, and I can tell you this, Lisa, when people move to Florida, you expect to hear, oh, I got to get away from the COVID restrictions or the taxes or all that. And you do hear that. And you did hear that during that time in particular. But the #1 thing you hear over and over again is I need safe communities. Right. And it has caused a lot of people to leave these formerly thriving areas.
Well, Governor, I know a lot of law enforcement members down in Florida, and about half of them used to work within about 10 miles of where I'm sitting right now. So why are you in New York today? Are you recruiting officers to go from these liberal cities like New York, Chicago, and Philadelphia down to Florida? Or is this one of those things people who might be running for president would do to go ahead and start to get the ball rolling?
Well, I think it's definitely the former. I mean, we've put a lot of money into police recruitment. It's been very successful. And so we want to let people know we're here. We've got a lot of great benefits. You'll be appreciated and you'll have policies that work. But I think also just the broader message, and not even about president or any of that, but just about for our country, it's important to admit that these left-wing policies have failed. They've empowered criminals. Mm-hmm. They've put the public at risk. They've put law enforcement officers at risk. And so I think that this experiment has concluded, and we need to move in the direction where across the board from sea to shining sea, we have a commitment to respect for law enforcement and for law and order.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Governor, I know that Tim Scott's on a listening tour, and last week Nikki Haley formally went in. We know the former president, Donald Trump, is in. What is your timeline to decide if that's the next best thing for you and your family for you to run for president?
Well, I've got two big things coming up, Brian. One, I have a book coming out on February 28th. You can see it at DeSantisBook.com. It's called The Courage to Be Free. It talks about really Florida's blueprint for American revival. We're proud of that. So we're going to go on a tour on that. We're going to sell some books. We're going to spread the message of Florida. And then on March 8th, I have our legislative session that's kicking off. So I think, as you know, we won a big victory in Florida, which is great, for the governor, but we have super majorities in the legislature. So you're going to see, I think people look at Florida, they're like, man, the governor's gotten a lot done and we have, we're proud of it. You ain't seen nothing yet. This is going to be the most productive legislative session we have had across the board. And I think people are going to be really excited. So those are what we're going to be doing over these next few months. As we get beyond that, then we can decide from there.
Well, and Governor, you've come under a lot of incoming fire recently. Nikki Haley taking aim at you, Larry Hogan as well, the governor of Illinois, from your visit coming up here to Chicago. What's your reaction to some of those attacks?
Well, Lisa, if you're an office holder and you're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs and not getting anything done, no one ever says anything. You can kind of just fly under the radar. But when you're out there leading, when you're out there setting the agenda, not just for Florida, but really for the nation, which we've done over the last few years, people see that, and the people that don't necessarily like that are going to respond accordingly. But I can just tell you, if people are not firing at me, then I must not be doing my job. And so I view it really as positive feedback.
Well, listen, you could get some positive feedback if you just stood up, turned around and said, hey, folks, I'm going to run for president. Just saying, you would wind up with a standing ovation right now. We'll give you 20 seconds.
Wouldn't you guys like to have that announcement on Fox?
It would be nice.
Of course we would.
Come on, Governor, I'm a Floridian. Help me out.
All right. That's called a standoff.
Yeah.
Governor, we do have a speech on Fox Nation coming out. Who is Ron DeSantis? And we talked to your baseball coach to find out what you're really like on the field, wearing a mitt and picking up a bat. So that'll be an interesting special we have coming out. Thanks, Governor.
And we look forward to welcoming you in Dunedin very soon. Looking forward to it.
I'll be on the ground with you again. It's going to be great. Thanks so much.
There you have it, you guys. That was Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida. And let me know if you agree, disagree with his policies. Would you vote for him? Do you think that the blank checks to Ukraine have got to stop? What are the other alternatives that we could do to help them out without sending all of this money over? Let me know your thoughts, you guys. But speaking about money, we have got a lot of issues here in the United States ourselves. And one of those big issues we're dealing with is Social Security. And I've let you know that there's tons of legislation starting to roll out from Congress because we've got to address the solvency issue here soon. We're hearing as soon as 2035, 2032, we could be running out of funds, which means that everybody across the board would only receive 80% of the Social Security benefits they're supposed to receive. And we've seen new bills rolling out from Bernie Sanders, from different members of Congress. And also we're hearing that the COLA increases are getting larger and larger, which is depleting the solvency even faster. We got to have higher COLAs to help people be able to live because of the inflation issues that we currently have. Well, I've got some updates for you on the schedule and the policies rolling out. If you want to see the latest, check out this video right here next, and I'll get you caught up on that as well. But with that being said, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget, smash the like button, subscribe to stay up to date as more rolls out. I'll keep you guys up to speed. But with that being said, take care. God bless. This is Steve.